Hey, this is Mitzi with Mitzi Let's Think About It. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend Scott Ferguson. Let's level up, y'all.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. We're at episode 352 with my awesome sauce friend and fellow podcaster, Mitzi Ocasio. And Mitzi was kind of living in and being comfortable in her own chaos until she got fed up with it. And she stepped into her shine, into her light, and became a fantastic author. There is a book giveaway towards the end of the podcast. So make sure you listen to there. And she is somebody that I immensely respect. Her podcast really makes you think, hence the name of her podcast as well. But I'm not going to share it here. I'll let her share it with you. And she's going to have some serious knowledge nuggets on how you can really learn to break through and become your ultimate human potential. So if you really like this episode, please leave us a thumbs up, share it, like it, all that other jazz. It really helps our sponsors and affiliates. And without further ado, here's my good friend, Mitzi Ocasio. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got a little interview swap with my good friend that's up in the cold area, I believe, in Wisconsin, where it's a little bit chilly up there. She told me it's 12 degrees, and she's 30 plus weeks pregnant, having her second child, another baby boy, which I'm so stoked for. And I can't believe she's really even coming on to share her awesome story. And also she's a published author with fantastic kids books, which I'm going to do a giveaway at the end that on Time to Shine Today's Dime. So make sure that you stay tuned. But I was on my good friend Mitzi Ocasio's podcast. Let's talk about it. And I'm going to put that in the show notes. So listen to this one first, because I want you all to hear everything about Mitzi. But it was such a fun, enlightening, super high energy podcast. And she's blessed me with her presence to come on here. And Mitzi is going to be a mother too, like I said, a writer. She's got a novel in the works, and she hosts the Let's Talk About It podcast. And she loves to think about everything that's possible, and she wants to pass that energy onto you to know that even in the word impossible, it's really broken down to the I'm possible. I am POSSIBLE. And that's what my good friend Missy does. Is she carries a full load as a wife, a mother, and a rock star podcaster. And Mitzi, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color would be purple, just
Purple.
because I think it's a calming color.
Yeah.
And guys, for me, it's calming, but that's one of my favorite colors.
Love it. And what's your nationality?
Oh, I'm Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican. So, and I say this because I have a lot of, Puerto Rican friends, Ecuadorian friends that are female, and you have blue, which is the chill color, right? The red, that's the fire color, right? So you have the Puerto Rican women. Actually, one of my jujitsu training partners, he's Puerto Rican. He has a Puerto Rican wife, and he's like, oh man, I got to stay on her good side. So the mesh of the blue and the red, it makes that purple. Plus, it's regal. Plus, it's in your color wheel. So I love it. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
So
that's
let's hear
absolutely true.
a little bit out of your story. I want to see where you kind of came to become maybe a little bit of the roots that got you into really knowing that everything is possible if you really want it, not need it, but really want it.
No, I like that question, and I think that's a question that we all need to ask ourselves, is that when do you actually really want it, and when do you think it's actually possible for yourself? And it took me many years to get to that point. I think as it does everybody in life, we all have to ask ourselves that question, when is it going to be possible for myself? And I started asking that question back in 2017 and 2018.
Mm.
At around that time I was in a rough relationship. Excuse me. And I was just doing whatever the man wanted to do. And it was taken away from me and my identity. So then I realized, like, when is it going to be possible to myself? Like, when are you going to make it real, Mitzi? And when are you going to really put yourself out there? And that's when I realized it was enough. It was enough with that relationship. It was enough with all of my default settings of just being comfortable in my own chaos and in what my family told me and what people told me and just in that hot messery. You know what I mean? Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's a hot mess.
Could you
So,
share maybe what was that final trigger without getting too personal? Because I
yeah.
understand there's another human being involved, but what was that trigger where you just sitting there saying, "Man, I'm freaking done, and this is what I'm going to do," or what really kind of led up to it, if you don't mind sharing?
No, not at all. I was on the couch, we were playing Call of Duty, and and it was like the 5 millionth time we played Call of Duty, and all I wanted to do was just write, I just wanted to write what I was thinking, write what I was feeling, write was just what was going on.
Right.
But as soon as I grabbed that pen and paper, the person at the time, they were just confused, they were looking at me like, "Why would you wanna write? What's the point of writing?"
Mm,
And then I told them I wanted to write a book, and they were like, "Well, books are dead, nobody likes to read anymore," and I realized
mm,
it was just from one person's perspective. I had to do what I needed to do because in my heart, I knew I needed to make this possible for myself.
mm.
And I think any listeners out there that are is coming through having that hardship and they're constantly feeling like people are telling them to do what they want versus what you want. I
Right.
think that's when you have to really tell yourself like, "No, I have to stand up for myself." And then that's when you really make it possible for yourself, and that's what I did.
What did you do? Because there's people out there right now that are like, man, I know I need to get up and level up and get out of a certain situation. But what was that first step outside of making that decision and that commitment? What was the first physical thing you remember doing?
I remember getting up and walking away, praying, and telling myself, "What can I do?" You know what I mean? What steps can I do to get to that point? So, my first step was to leave the relationship.
Yeah.
My second step was to then get myself, in a place where I feel comfortable just to be me, you know what I mean? To just be my most authentic self.
Yeah.
And even if that means being with different family or just being by yourself, whatever
Right.
the scenario may be for each personal individual,
Right.
it most definitely comes down to what are you willing to do for yourself? And that's basically what I had to do. I had to get myself out of the situation. And once I cleared my mind, the ideas and the stories and everything just came to me. You
Wow.
know, it just came to me. So then that's when I started Mitzi Thinking because it's the podcast, it's the blogs, it's the children's books, it's the novels, it's everything because all I can think of is just everything I just felt like I had to share it because anybody could be going through what I'm going through, you know what I
Right.
mean? Anybody could be stuck in a rut or just stuck in their own words that you wanna keep telling yourself and just
Right.
meditating
Their
because
own stories,
sometimes
right?
exactly, because we
Yeah.
don't realize that we meditate more than what we actually do.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? We meditate on negative words and negative outcomes and negative situations constantly that we don't realize we are keeping ourselves stuck.
Right. You know,
But
it's I love about your process or the protocol that you took, Mitzi, is that you prayed about it first, which everyone knows I'm a Christian dude. I'm a proud Christian guy. But secondly, you asked yourself questions. What can I do? What is my mission? Where do I see myself? And I, even with my coaching clients, I have them write out the 10 most powerful questions that they can ask of themselves because a lot of people will be like, say all these affirmations, which are great, but our minds are programmed, our brains are programmed to solve problems. That's what God gave us minds to do. So if you're asking those powerful questions, your mind starts looking for those answers and it just spilled out through the keyboard on the paper. I absolutely freaking love that. So
yeah.
what when you first sat down to write that book, was it always kind of a children's book that came to mind?
To be honest, no.
Okay.
To be
What
honest,
kind of book was it?
actually, it was my novel, you know what I
Mm,
mean? It was my novel that I started writing back in, 2011. around that time, 17, 18. When I started writing it, I would do like one page at a time, and then it would eventually lead up to 5 pages. And before I
Wow.
know it, I was doing a chapter a day, you know. And
Wow.
then I realized, once I was getting close to the end, and I would reread it, I would realize, "Oh, this book is gonna take me a lot longer than what I expected."
Right.
So then all of a sudden, I started hanging out with my nieces and nephews more, and, kids at a young at all under 10, they bring out this creative side, this imaginative side of you,
Yes.
and it makes you be goofy and silly and just, the possibilities are truly endless when you are around children, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
And when I was around my nieces and nephews, they'll bring it out of me, and I would just go, "Well, what if this, and what if this, and what if that?" And I just was creating this what if mentality,
Right.
and it was in a positive direction, because you can go
Hmm.
whichever direction, but mine went into a positive direction, and that's when I started writing down my books, writing down the ideas
Wow.
turned
So
into a
good.
book. Yeah,
Yeah. That just goes to show, like, children who literally physiologically are, their brains are mush until 25 years old, believe it or not. I mean, they get a little hardened, hardened, hardened. But you watch these kids, they're born salesmen. Like, you go through a checkout line, and how many times do they ask, "Candy, can I?" Yeah, they're like born salesmen. But I love that you're giving them the opportunity to know that things are possible, because kids are told no an average of 135,000 times by the time they're 13 years old. Isn't that crazy?
that's
100
a
by
lot.
by their parents and other authoritarian
Yeah.
figures. So that's just, you gave yourself a voice through children, and that, what a better place to learn from, right? Insane. That's beautiful. So you're with a person now that is your husband or your
Yeah.
partner in life, right? And how's he? Is it within him and then the rest of your family? Are they supportive with your endeavors of really finding out what's possible?
Yeah, I think, once I made it clear to everybody, the woman that I came back being, and I
Mhm.
wasn't gonna tolerate,
Yeah.
disrespect, I wasn't gonna tolerate, belittling, I wasn't gonna
Yeah.
tolerate a lot of things.
Yeah.
And at first it kinda just, like, stumbled everybody by, like, "Okay." But, after a while, they realize, Mitzi's really what she's about.
Right.
And I think that's one thing is that boundaries has to be put. When you try to make something possible for yourself, you gotta realize that boundaries are very important, important for your self-growth and as well as everybody else's because once you start adding those boundaries, then people will realize, what, I can do this for myself and I can really make what I want possible. And
Wow.
it's nice because now my nephew, he says I'm his favorite titi because I write books and he
Right.
calls me to give me random ideas.
Mm. That
So
is
it's
awesome.
really nice. Yeah.
Wow. And just that energy is flowing into your nephew. That's beautiful. So let me ask you something, Mitzi. Like, I'm not going to ask your age because that's none of my business. But have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to, say, the 18-year-old Mitzi. Okay, what?
Okay.
Let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. You remember the movie, right? Let's go back to the 18-year-old Mitzi.
Okay.
What kind of knowledge nuggets? That's what we call them here. Time to shine. What kind of knowledge nuggets might you drop on her? Not so much to change anything, because you've got almost two beautiful children, one beautiful child, awesome family, like that. But maybe help her shorten the learning curve, blast through, and level up. Maybe just a little bit quicker. What might you drop on that 18-year-old Mitzi?
It's okay to be alone.
Really? Okay.
And it's okay to figure it out alone, you
Okay.
know? And, um, I think going to God is very important too,
Oh
because I
yeah.
think around that time I was struggling with my walk with God, and
Hmm.
once I finally got that down, life is obviously never gonna be it's never gonna be like a straight shot,
No
but
way. Yeah.
it became easier at the same time, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I
once you find God, it's like it doesn't you realize life that hasn't fully changed, but life has fully changed at the same time because you don't. actually feel alone, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So the reason why I say it's okay to do it alone, because physically you are always gonna feel alone, but spiritually you're never
Yeah.
alone. You know what I
Beautiful.
mean?
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And being alone, like there's the whole cliches that you can't love anybody else unless you love yourself, or if the plane's going down, you put your oxygen mask on first and whatnot. But you have to really love yourself and
Mhm.
get there. And when you get to a point where you need help, you like my good friend Leah Woodford says, get your asking gear and you ask the people in your close community that you really trust. So I love that. I love that. And Mitzi, how do you want, because you're a published author, you have a fantastic podcast, you absolutely someone I immensely respect, but how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date, your death date. Hopefully it's a way down the road, but on your tombstone, how do you want your dash remembered?
Um, I would I think I would want it to be not too I don't, because I don't wanna live for a legacy, I wanna live for a purpose. You know, so I feel like that would be one statement that I would want on my tombstone or on my or urn or whatever, but I think
Yeah,
that would be my main point because in life, that's how I see it. I'm not living my life for a legacy, for what I can leave behind. I'm living in purpose, and if that creates a legacy, well, then that's a blessing,
right.
for everybody else, you know what I mean?
Plus you
Because when you
go
focus
ahead.
too much on legacy,
Yeah,
it puts so much pressure on yourself.
right. And the thing is, what's beautiful about it is you're already created a legacy with almost two human beings on this earth, and having you as a mom is absolutely amazing. So, and Mitzi, when you're not prego, okay, what keeps you up at night?
Um, the stories that I don't write down, because sometimes I get ideas for other
Oh,
novels and
dude, yes.
ideas for overstore for other, like, children's books, and when I don't just write them down at the moment when I have them,
Hmm.
I just start festering in my mind, but I
Right.
don't wanna be one of those people that wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning or just can't sleep, so I just you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like it's a little weird,
Yeah.
but that's my own judgment on myself, but
No, you're fine.
in reality, it's like sometimes when I just don't do something as simple as just writing down my thoughts
Right.
can can really
And
come in.
right now with digital note taking and everything else, it's on you if you don't write it down. It's funny. I'm 50 years old, and it was 1984. I was 12, and I woke up, and I'm 12 years old, and I have this song in my head. I'm like, this is going to, and I'm no near we're near a musician, but this song resonated me, and I didn't write it down because I didn't know anything about that at 12 years old. But man, I think that I would be on stages with this song that's in my head. I still can't remember it, but it's the one thing in life that I kick myself in the butt about. It's just weird. I got up to use the bathroom, and then so I'll remember. It was just like gone. It was crazy, crazy. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's just living in and getting things on paper or in a digital note taker.
Yeah.
Absolutely makes sense. So Missy, what do you think people misunderstand about you the most?
Um, hmm. That's a funny question. That's a funny question to ask because I don't like to ask people that question.
Uh-huh.
Just because it gives the other person too much power to determine who I am.
Ooh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I don't necessarily like to do that. However, people have told me bluntly, like, "Mitzi, I didn't wanna talk to you," or, "I didn't wanna, like, because you seem intimidating, you seem this, you
Uh,
seem that." You know what I mean?
mhm.
So, I think that's another reason why I did my podcast because it shows my realness, it shows my authenticness, my vulnerability, my funny
Yeah.
side, quirky
And how
side,
sweet you really
everything.
are, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Thank
Abs
you.
and absolutely, yeah, and I love it. You and I are cut from so much of the same cloth, just years apart. But like, it's like I make two New Year's resolutions every year, and this goes back to 2009. One, to make someone smile every single day. Right there, boom! I just got it. Okay, and two, unless I've hurt you, disrespected you, stole from you, or owe you, I don't care what you think about me. A lot of people live their life like that. They're like, "Oh, wonder what," understanding. So I really don't care as long as I haven't hurt you, and you're the same way. You just said it. That's
Exactly.
beautiful. So Mitzi, outside of anything technology wise, no computers, no cell phones, nothing like that. What are three things that Mitzi can't live without?
Ooh, um, food.
Okay.
You know what I
Good
mean?
food, right?
I need to eat. A girl needs to eat. Um, prayer,
Nice.
because I have to have a communication with God. Even if I don't necessarily pray, I have to
Mhm.
talk to him. Like
Beautiful.
I feel I feel deprived
Mm.
if I don't have some type of way, if I don't talk to him. Um, and then my third one, I would say, I guess I don't know how to explain it, but I guess I would say the ability to do as I want. You know what
Absolutely
I
freedom.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that freedom, because to feel confined or to feel restricted, it gets to me it breaks me down, you know what
Love
I
that
mean, as a
transparency.
human
Yeah.
being. So for me, I just feel the need to have that freedom, and
Right.
even if it's just something really quick, because I know it's I don't know if that's the right word, but I know it's weird to say being a mother, and having kids and never having free time, but
Mhm.
in reality, I still try to make a way to have free time, because
Yeah.
if not, I will go bonkers. Like,
Absolutely.
sign me up for the mental ward because I'll be there.
I love I love so then Mitzi, what is your definition of a life well lived?
Hmm, that's very subjective
Okay.
because, a life well lived, that's very subjective. Ooh. Well, for me personally, I would say that a life well lived is being happy.
Yeah,
Despite
absolutely.
despite despite any choices that you had control over or didn't have control over, it's just having that gratitude and just that peace of mind that you were still able to make the best out of the moment. You know
Mm,
what I mean? I think
yeah,
that's what makes a good life, because through the ups and downs and everything in between, you can still find that glimpse of happiness in a day, you know what I mean?
love it.
And I think when we are able to focus on that, then you can really appreciate your life and really say, it was a good day despite everything else. It was a good day.
That's beautiful. I love it. Be happy about your choices. We can always choose to be happy, no matter the circumstance. I love that. And time to shine today podcast varsity squad. We are back. And Mitzi, one of these days, I don't know if I'll go to Milwaukee area or, up in Wisconsin area when it's cold, but one of these days we might connect and we can sit down and talk and maybe have a nice conversation. We'll probably spend 10, 15, 20 minutes on each one of these questions if we were to ask them in person. But our
Okay.
lightning round, you have
Okay.
5 seconds with no explanations, and they can all be answered that way. You ready to level up?
I'm
You can
ready.
do it. Awesome. You know what? You're pregnant. We'll give you 7 seconds. All
Oh,
right.
thank
Cool.
you.
All right. Missy, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Just do it.
That's perfect. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Making a list and checking it
Oh,
off.
beautiful. Love it. If you were to see me walking down the street and you're like, man, Ferky looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. What book might you hand me to level me up outside of the Bible?
Um, I wouldn't know what book to hand somebody, because there's so many books out there. But usually when I see someone random and they're going through something hard, you could just tell by their face.
Mhm.
I try to, one, smile at them, and two, compliment something on them,
Love
because
it.
when somebody gets complimented, they get happy.
They change. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
The smiley emoji with the little halo,
Halo
the
on top,
angel.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Nicknames growing up?
Just Mitzi. Mitzi's my nickname.
Beautiful. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Chess, checkers, or Monopoly? Monopoly.
Beautiful. Go-to ice cream flavor?
Strawberry.
Nice. So there's a sandwich called the Mitzi. Build that sandwich for me.
Oh, that's not fair because I'm pregnant, so it's gonna have weird stuff in it. So I
That's why I
so I
asked
would
you.
say like I would say like the Thanksgiving sandwich where there's bread, there's turkey, there's stuffing, there's cranberry sauce, and then you
Uh,
just eat it. Yum
then
yum.
just pour some gravy over the top of
I know, and
it.
add some gravy. Yeah, exactly. You know.
I love it. So, favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
I like to give my time and money to churches.
Beautiful.
Um,
Nice.
I
Enough
think
said.
that's the best way.
Fantastic. Last question. You can elaborate on this one a little bit, Mitzi, but what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
I would say mm, early thousands,
Early
90s.
thousands. I was gonna throw that in for you, but all right, very cool, very cool. So, Mitzi, how can we find you?
Well, I'm available everywhere. My podcast is on every type of
It
podcast
is.
station you can think of. You just put Mitzi, let's think about it, and you'll find me.
Yeah.
Mitzi, people don't know how to spell it, but you'll find me.
No, please tell them how to spell it.
Yeah, you spelled Mitzi with Mitzi,
Love
and
it.
it's just let's think about it.
What
I
is
think
that
about
short for?
everything. Oh, Mitzi, it's short for Mitzienne.
Really? That's a
Yeah,
beautiful name, though.
yeah,
But I can
yeah,
see where you go with
Mitzienne.
Mitzi. I mean, it's a little bit easier to say. I love
Oh,
it.
so much easier.
So, tell us a little bit about the two books, Mr. Water and Little Miss Puddles.
Yeah, so I love water. In college, I actually had to do a research paper on water, and it kind of
Mm.
started my spark. And then I started kind of remembering again when I had to talk to my nieces and nephews about water too. And it's basically about helping them understand recycling,
Ooh,
how to recycle certain bottles, if better than plastic, and what water is used for, and it's literally used for everything.
yes. Yeah.
Everything, so I try to explain that in my book so that, kids can really put two and two together and realize, we use water more than what we do and what we see, and what we're
Mm.
exposed to, because certain people are exposed to more water than other people.
Yeah.
And everyone has a different life, but I think once we put that into the our next generation's mindset, they're able to respect it. You know
Ooh.
what I mean? And I think that's the main goal is to have them respect water because water is going to be needed, especially when they get
For
older.
everything. I mean, we're 80+% water, or even our human
Yeah.
bodies. So I love it. And squad, I'm going to do a book giveaway on Time to Shine Today's Dime. But the first person that puts in water puddles in any of our social, I'll make sure that we get a copy of each one of the books sent out to you. Again, water puddles. I don't care if it's Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, a text to our team, whatever it is. We'll know that you've listened this far, and I'll make sure you get the book, the first person that does that. And Missy, you also have another novel kind of going on called
Yeah.
Disgraced, which you actually started writing that before, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's in the final wraps. It's the final like add-on editing
Yeah.
portion. I'm hoping that next year it can be out and available for everybody come in the fall time.
Okay.
But right now, it's basically about finding the disgrace in the character in each of the characters. Each character has a personality where you'll listen to and you'll see some people's disgrace right away and
Mm.
others you'll see later on. But the point is that nobody's exempt from having some type of disgrace within them. It's
Ooh.
about not pointing it out on others and judging others. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you get that point, well then you're my type of reader.
I love it. I love it. I used to kind of judge people, a little bit. And then buddy of mine told me that I respect immensely. And he was just like, dude, take care of your own house. And I was sitting in my own house going, man, this thing's made of glass. Why am I throwing stones? And I love that. I can't wait to read it. That sounds like a fun read. And it's a novel. How long is it ish?
Right now it's under 60,000 words, but
Okay.
but by the time I finish adding the last 3 chapters, it's probably be, more than that.
Nice. Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Missy, do me one last solid because you've dropped so many knowledge nuggets on us. But leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Mhm. I think the best knowledge to leave you and the listeners that are listening today, and the point of why you came to the show, time to shine today. You have today. You don't have tomorrow because that's a thought, and you don't have yesterday because it's your past and it's already done. You have today.
Wow.
And once you start realizing what you have, what you are capable of doing and making possible today, then you will be able to take advantage of
Wow.
each day.
Wow, it is so strong. And squad, we had a fun conversation, enlightening and entertaining, but it's also kind of like a masterclass. Missy was somebody that knew she wanted more, sitting there playing video games and was really just kind of turned down emotionally by the person that she trusted the most. And she knew that there was more things that was possible. But she didn't want to go back to her default settings of living in her own chaos, and she wanted to move forward with that possibility. And then she started really digging deep on what steps you have to do to get that possibility. And like we say, inch by inch, it's a cinch, right? By the yard, it's hard. So she started taking those baby steps and started writing a novel, which turned into her brain shifted into her nieces, nephews, and seeing their energy and writing kids' books. I mean, how freaking cool is that? She wants you to remember that boundaries are super important for your own self growth, and not only your own, but the people around you that are observing you. And that the boundaries are because they'll know, hey, do I approach Mitzi or don't I? Is it time to, level up with her, or is it time to back up a little bit? If you establish boundaries, people can read that. And she wants you to realize also that it's okay to be alone because, like myself, Mitzi, believes in God. And whether whoever your creator is, you might be alone physically, like Mitzi says, but there's always another power there that you can turn to and lay those problems on to help you carry you through. She's going to be somebody that I believe Mitzi lives for the intention, not the attention. And the reason why I say that is she wrote that she wants to live a life of purpose and not legacy. And that just struck a huge chord with me because I want to live for the intention and not the attention. That's why I even write micro influencer and all of my stuff because I don't care about hitting the masses. I want to hit the people that and help the people that are in front of me in that moment. And be happy with the choices you have because you can decide to be happy. You can choose to be happy. You always have control over your moments. So make those moments count. And then lastly, she said that you have today. And so many people, they have a foot in the future, the foot in the past, they piss all over the present. And Mitzi wants you to be present and know your power right now. And Mitzi is such a person that's planting trees that I believe she's never going to sit in the shade of. And it was just so awesome interviewing you, Mitzi, and having this conversation. We're already friends, but it was just so fun to really get this out to the squad. You level up your health, you level up your wealth. You're beautiful, you're humble, yet you're hungry. Thank you so much for coming on. I absolutely love your guts.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great experience.
Yay! I'll chat soon. Bye
All
now.
right, bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast, proudly brought to you by Sutter and Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.